Okay, so what I got here, fam, is this is an old BBC Two documentary. It's called "The Lost Race: A History of the National Front." 24th March 1999. Now I've got it queued up. You can see there at 2326 because I want to show you that a pattern. I want to show you a pattern within far right nationalist fascist movements. MR Red. This gets to if you asked if I had seen the recent thing about Jimmy Dore fucking platforming that piece of shit boog. Oh yeah, I saw it, and this is relevant to that. We're gonna see, and we've seen this, and I know Comrade from Stand Up Fight Back. I know SoCal Shan. I know that you know this, but this is not new. That fascist movements, when they're kind of on the pushback, when they're kind of on the decline, and their numbers are dwindling. When, you know, like I said before, when they roll out each new manifestation of it, it comes in real hot. They get a bunch of numbers. It does really well. And after a while, it sort of declines. And in those declining moments is when you're going to see them come out and start embracing things that that seem, like Jimmy Dore pretending to be so surprised that this boogaloo was like, yeah, I'm down with LGBTQ. I'm down with, BLM and stuff. And we need to not be fooled by this. This is a bullshit ploy, and there's precedence for it. And this is why I have this video queued up. So so this is about the National Front, really sort of in the transition from being the National Front into the BNP, the British Nationalist Party, right? Because the National Front had been involved with all kinds of stuff, violence and murder and all this fucking Nazi fucking bullshit, and had gotten a bad rep, and so they were in the process of rebranding. But in that process, they started embracing some interesting characters that seemed contrary to their white supremacist goals. So I'm not going to show it to you, but in the moments just prior to this scene that I am going to show you, they were totally embracing Gaddafi, the people from the National Front that eventually became the foundations of the BNP. They were pushing Gaddafi's Green Book and stuff. But check out what they also get into after Gaddafi.
That there was very little evidence of an interest in the ideas of Colonel Gaddafi in Eisenhower.
Gaddafi's Arab nationalism showed the front that there were other people with nationalisms of their own. The stage was set for yet another ambitious but self-defeating change of direction for the ever-dwindling front. They became pro-black. From the late 80s, they started championing black nationalists like Louis Farrakhan. They saw them as allies against the multiracial conspiracy.
Black and Asian people who are committed to preserving their own racial and cultural identity have far more in common with us than we have with race-mixing white liberals.
See, and you can't ever fall for that either, fam, because however you feel about Farrakhan, and I have some very distinct, specific criticisms of Farrakhan, but I don't go after black nationalists because these are colonized people screaming for fucking agency and their own fucking self fucking perpetuated power, man. And I'm just not in any position to criticize that. Okay. But because, and I understand why a colonized person would want to be separated from their colonizers. Okay. That doesn't mean that they have anything in common with white nationalists or British nationalists or German nationalists or, this fevered chauvinistic support of, jingoistic fucking xenophobic fucking nationalism. That's different than black nationalism. But at the time that this came out, it had the same effect that we're seeing in the result of like what Jimmy Dore is doing, is it made people go, oh, well, maybe they're not, all this other Nazi death camps and, going to do genocides and stuff. Look, they'll embrace black nationalism. And it's not, And it's gross because it's not like they would have any issue with genociding every single black nationalist once their alliance with them served the white nationalist goals. Once they'd achieved their goals, make no mistake, they would totally subjugate Farrakhan and the other black nationalists that they had originally aligned with, because it's not about any type of actual shared goals. It's about, oh, black nationalism has talking points that we can properly manipulate and spin into seeming like they're in congruence with our own. Anyway, let's get back to it.
F now respected black people, although it still wanted them to leave the country. But to many members of the rank and file, civility to blacks was going too far.
There's a branch somewhere in the north of England, I think it may have been round Manchester. They sent their papers back. They circularized us all with a handwritten note saying basically they didn't like this sort of thing. The National Front should just be a white person's organisation, and basically they were off.
As an attempt to undermine Britain's multiracial society, teaming up with foreign nationalists made sense. They could make friends with Arabs. They could make friends with blacks. Then, in 1989, one of the Front's leading members tried to open a dialogue with the oldest enemy of all. It was to cause the end of the National Front.
I was phoned out of the blue by Patrick Harrington because he said he had a good story, a big story to tell me about. And he arrived at the Jewish Chronicle in his trademarker full-length leather coat, yeah, which was sort of slightly sinister. And we went next door to the pub. And then he started to tell me what was quite explosive story, which was that the National Front, which was traditionally considered if not a Nazi party, a sort of neo-fascist or crypto-fascist party, had decided that it had been historically wrong in its attitudes towards the Jews.
Despite the Jewish Chronicle's sceptical reporting of the issue, the majority of the party were horrified at Patrick Harrington's tactic.
Patrick's approach to the Jewish Chronicle had not been discussed before it appeared. And in any leadership which is supposed to be a group leadership, that was clearly unacceptable. That, as much as the message, was unacceptable. As I say, the message, I personally at the time felt that was going too far.
Nick Griffin came to see me. Ostensibly it was to look at the price of property, houses and such like in Belfast, but then it developed to a discussion about the way the movement was going. And he was unhappy that some elements were opening up a rapprochement to the Jewish community. So he basically wanted such elements expelled and to keep the National Front going purified and renewed in this trend. Or failing that a new group would be set up.
Within a few months, the National Front, or what was left of it, had been wound up. The name was abandoned. The remaining members split into two camps.
We probably had something like 50 or 60 people, and Patrick Harrington's side had 10 or 12 people. You're talking about tiny numbers of folk who've managed very successfully to build themselves a ghetto within a ghetto within a ghetto.
All right, that's all I'm going to play from that, fam. But and I really, really suggest you go take a look at that video, the whole documentary. Again, it's called The Lost Race, History of the National Front, 24th March 1999. I found it from The World Videos 1 is the channel. Let's see if I can show it to you. So that's the channel. But you see, fam, when they're hurting, when their numbers are dwindling, when they've been exposed for the fucking scum that they are, because that's why they repackage themselves periodically, is because they've been disgraced. Their true colors have come out, and their unhinged, violent bigotry comes to the surface, and they have to recess, and they have to rethink the way they administer their project, and then they recarted out under a new premise, and people, a new generation of people, become fooled by it again. But you see this pattern when they're in that sort of drawback position. They start throwing anything at the fucking wall that will work to sort of regain the numbers and the popularity they may have experienced even just days or a month before. Oh yeah, we straight up the National Front trying to make a statement about, obviously that backfired, trying to make a statement about, being in support of Jews, and the rank and file were like, nah, not cool with that. But it causes those divisions. And so being aware of this phenomenon can serve two purposes for us on the left. One, we need to be aware of it so that we don't pull some bullshit like Jimmy and go, oh, look, he said he's pro-BLM, so okay, let's homie up with this piece of shit now, so we can avoid falling into that trap. But we can also recognize that, ooh, it's wounded. That's when we fucking stomp harder, fam. That's when we go at them. They're fucking hurting. They're reeling. Let's get them. Let's not, that's why it's so toxic and gross what Jimmy Dore did, because this is obviously a movement in decline that's hemorrhaging numbers, bunch of fucking arrests. It's the same thing that happened with the Nazi boneheads back in the 80s and 90s. They killed enough people and committed enough violence and did it on the nightly news for people to finally go, oh yeah, this has got to stop. And it fucking recessed, right? After a long fucking fights from a lot of fucking righteous people on the streets. But they're finally, the public becomes sick of it. And this is that moment. This is that moment that we have to keep the pressure on, right? Don't let them fucking cart things out here. Articles from Reuters talking about how law enforcement arrested Tario because they wanted to preempt the action 2 days later that they did nothing about, that they full on allowed to happen. Seen this movie before, fam. Seen it before. And with that said, I got a song queued up that goes out to the National Front, to the BNP, to the Proud Boys, and to the Boogaloos. It's from Broken Bones. It's called FOAD, which clearly means fuck off and die. And this is the title track from the album of the same name, Fuck Off and Die. And I've got some graffiti art shit queued up over here, fam. Right on, stand up and fight back. Thanks for hanging, fam.